today we're going to be talking about how to become more organized. Hello, welcome to Met with Sam. My name is Dr. Samira and this is one of the first few videos on my YouTube channel, and it's so great to see you here. In case you don't know me already, I am a junior doctor and I like to make content that explains medical concepts and really simplifies them. And I also like to make content about motivational things or about productivity. So I have a newsletter and I have an Instagram page, so make sure you subscribe to the newsletter and follow me on Instagram. But welcome to my channel. So I thought about it. And there are things in my life that I generally do that make me more organized. But it wasn't until I wrote the newsletter that has already come out, so you can read the text version of this in the article. But it wasn't until I wrote that I realized that there were really just 3 things that make me as organized as I am. And I hope that you'll be able to get something from this video today, and you'll be able to incorporate some of this in your own life. Now, it's important to remember that everyone's different. Some things work for people, some things don't. So take what you want from this and leave what you don't want. But let's get right into it. These are the top 3 things that I do in my day that make me a bit more organized. So tip number 1. This is something that I started when it was 2020 and I really needed to get more organized. But tip number 1 is planning. I know it's probably something that you already know you need to do, but you just don't get the time to do it, or you haven't gotten around to doing it. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly how, and it's going to be so simple. Right, so what do you plan? To be more organized, what you need to plan is your day. It sounds a bit tedious, but honestly it's very simple. The way I do it is I wake up in the morning and with my cup of coffee, the first thing that I do is I take my journal and I write down the plan of the day. So I have my journal with me right now. I'm going to show you, and it looks like this. I love it because of the color. It's my favorite color. I'm going to show you the inside of this journal. I'm not sure if you can see, but here. This part of it is what I think is the best portion of this journal. Now, in case it wasn't very clear, there are little numbers written on the left side of that list, and those are basically times of the day. And what I like to do is I like to chalk out exactly what I'm going to be doing at every hour of the day, and in detail. So I'll write things like 1 to 2 is lunch, or wake up at 6, get to yoga by 7, come back by 8:30, shower between 8:30 and 9, that kind of stuff, really in detail. And I make little curly brackets as well, just to because I enjoy it. Now, if this is not a habit that you already have, this can sound a bit tedious and it can sound unnecessary. Why do you need to write down every little moment of your day in this list? Now, the reason why it becomes important is, let's say you have to juggle a lot of things. You're a student and you have to make time for studying, and you're probably doing a side job. Or you're someone who isn't very good at spending quality time with your family because you're so engrossed in your work. When this happens, you will find it very easy to find more time when you've chalked out every step of your day. Okay? Now, the benefit of this is that you really have a visual representation of what your day is going to look like. And what I've noticed is that it helps me remember things that I've tried to keep in the back of my mind. It helps me remember things that I need to do. So let's say I'm writing down the plan and I suddenly remember, oh right, I had to go to the bank and deposit that check. Then immediately in the evening after I finish work, go deposit the check. And I will remember to deposit the check that day. So that is another benefit that I feel, um, that I receive when I plan my day to the last hour. um, but it's very important to remember that you might not even might, you will not complete every single thing that you've planned for the day. I get through probably 40 to 50% of what I've planned in the morning, and that could happen to you as well. But don't let that demotivate you, okay? Writing down the plan doesn't mean that you have to fulfill that plan. The purpose of writing the plan is to make your day more organized in your mind, to have this visual representation of what your day is going to look like, so that you A, add things in there that you know you need to do, B, you are able to prioritize. I don't have too much time to do these. I don't have a lot of time in the day to do the 5 things I need to do. So what are the top 2 things that I actually need to finish in the day? So it helps you prioritize. So the aim isn't to complete your plan. The aim is to have a visual representation. Okay? So don't worry if you aren't able to fulfill the plan of the day. And also, another thing that is really important to remember is that don't try to be over enthusiastic about your day, and go easy on yourself. So you might find, especially when you start this habit, you might find yourself thinking, oh, I have an extra hour. Why don't I call my mom, wash my clothes, pack my lunch for tomorrow, and cook for dinner, and probably read a book? In 1 hour, 5 things, it's not possible. Go easy on yourself. You will realize that when you do that, not only are you able to complete more and more tasks that you set out for the day, but you also feel good about it at the end of that. So yeah, that is how to plan, and the advantages and the disadvantages of planning your day. It is important to plan this before your day begins, not in the middle of the day. But if you find yourself realizing that you've forgotten, then doing it at any time of the day works as well. So yes, that is how to plan your day. Now the second tip that I have for you is something that is a bit more difficult to achieve, and it requires a bit of discipline. But the second tip is to be aware of temptations. Now what do I mean by this? There are certain things that we do in the day that I like to call time blockers. Okay, I haven't called them time wasters because wasting is a negative term, but they're time blockers. And what they do is that they really take up a big chunk of your day, especially when you have a huge list of things you need to complete. And it can get quite frustrating by the end of it. So let's take Netflix, for example. I love Netflix. I watch an episode of The Office every day. I like to binge watch sometimes. So I'm not saying that Netflix is a problem. Now, where it does become a problem is when we start to turn towards these time blockers when we're anxious or stressed about the huge list of things we actually have to complete. So let's say that you have 5 things that you need to do, and that you probably haven't done yet because you've been procrastinating. Those 5 lists of things makes you a bit stressed and anxious, so you say, oh, let me watch an episode of Friends to feel a little bit more relaxed, and then I'll get into it. And that one episode turns to a whole season, and it's night already, you need to go to bed, and you think, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And then what happens is that list gets longer and longer, the stress builds, you watch more Netflix, and that's when it becomes a problem. So be aware of temptations, be aware of the temptation to binge watch Netflix, consume certain substances, hang out with friends and just chill, every day on the katta. Katta means a slab, for those who don't know what that word means. Um, yeah, so be aware of these temptations because they can really block out a huge chunk of the time in your day where you could have been more productive, and being productive means you're being organized. So that's tip number 2, because once you're aware of these things, you can start to turn yourself away from them. Okay? Now, tip number 3 is the best tip ever. I love it. I started this about a year ago, and it's very helpful for someone like me who has a lot of different things going on. And tip number 3 is to have a visual representation of the things that you need to do or the ongoing projects that you have. So what I do is I have a whiteboard, okay, and I've chalked out the whiteboard, divided it into about 8 sections, and I've given a little heading to each section. These headings are projects that I have going on, priorities, things that I want to do. For example, if I have 2 research projects going on, I'll have the title of those research projects written. I will have family time, friends, Med with Sam, which is my platform, so social media, which is my work, my actual work, so going to the hospital, and I'll have different things written there. And under each heading or in each section, I have a target or a goal written. So let's say it's one of my research projects. I'll have the term complete the study design written in that box. Okay, and so for each section, I have something written. So for family time, I have written call your grandmom. And then once I've completed that, okay, or once that project has moved on to the next step, I rub it out and then I write the next goal. So the targets and goals are visual right in front of me and right in front of me, and they're right there. And I keep them in the front of my room. The way this has helped me is that it has made me a little less anxious or stressed about thinking about all of the ongoing projects that I have in my mind and worrying that I haven't touched even one of them or gone ahead with even one of them. Because when it's in front of me, when I'm rubbing it out and writing a new target, I know what's going on. I know which projects are falling behind. I know which ones I've completed, and I feel good about it. And it's a very, very helpful tool to stay organized. Because the trick here is that I have taken the task of thinking about and keeping all of these different top projects in mind. I've taken that task from my brain and given it to the whiteboard and say, here, this is your job. You're going to tell me what I need to do next. And then I just do it. So it's decreased the stress in my mind, and it's also made me a lot more organized. So these are the 3 tips that I was speaking about. And just to go through them, tip number 1 was to start planning your day. And I would highly recommend using a planner. Tip number 2 is to be aware of your temptations. And tip number 3 is to chalk out your goals or your projects and everything that you have going on and make them visible to you and get them out of your brain and onto something physical. Alright, so these were the 3 tips, and that is it for today. I hope that you've been able to take something from this video. Please do leave a comment below. Tell me about what you liked, what you didn't like, because I really appreciate feedback. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!